Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Parker, who was an unhappy engineering student when he took my course back in 2020, and then took my course, got an entry-level digital marketing job, and now he is running an agency where he is making close to $200,000 a year Canadian. He works in Montreal. He is working with real estate agents. He is on pace. This month, he had his first $200,000 month in revenue. He is doing very, very well. It's a very, very exciting story. I'm excited to share it with you. Thanks for being here, Parker.
Happy to be here.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
So why don't you tell us a little bit about your current job, or should I say your business that you're running right now?
yeah. So we are a real estate niche marketing firm. We deal with the kind of Facebook ads. We use Go High Level, the whole CRM get up, and we have a team of 8 people currently. So lots of media buyers. I'm actually looking to hire one right now. A lot of ISA inside sales agent callers, and yeah, basically run ads for real estate agents, qualify leads, get them closed deals. And I've been doing this for around 2 years now. My business partner started this 4 years ago. I joined on 2 years ago, took equity in the business, and yeah, that's what I'm doing currently.
That's awesome. And by the way, how old are you?
I am 23 years old, and when I took your course, I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't do the math, but that is amazing. So you're 23, and then just to reiterate for people, what are some numbers? Again, what kind of numbers is your agency doing, and what kind of numbers are you earning?
Yeah, so last year was my basically first full-time year. I made 120,000 Canadian, and this year I'm on pace to make over 200,000 Canadian with the numbers we're hitting currently. So yeah, it's a blessing.
That is really, really awesome, guys. It shows you again what is possible when you hit the ground running at a young age and disregard college and just start hustling. So, of course, everyone wants to know, how did you go from where you were to here? So let's just talk about like what was going on in your life when you first found the course. It was back in 2020, very different world, very different situation. Just give us a little insight into that.
So yeah, like you said, I was an engineering student, 19 years old. I was a year and a half in my degree, and COVID happened, everything went online, all online courses. I just absolutely hated it. I could not do online school. And I always had a vision, a dream in my mind of doing something bigger, owning my own business. I just never had a vehicle to do it. And when I was in engineering, I hated it. I decided I'm just going to drop out. I know what my purpose is and my dream is to build a business. And I kind of started looking at different ways to do that. And digital marketing came up when I did my Google search. It was a huge thing at the time. A lot of companies were hiring, I saw on LinkedIn. And eventually I knew I needed to get entry-level experience. I looked up courses online. I saw Seth's videos on YouTube of the people he's interviewing. So yeah, I eventually just took the risk. I signed up for it, fully dropped out, gave myself 2 months to actually go through the course and get a job, or else I was going to go back to school. So I had a time crunch on me. And yeah, that's kind of where it all started.
Very well said. Very well said. And it was a very, very common story. And, kudos to you for taking the initiative to drop out of school, know what was right for you, not whatever pressure you're getting from society or from your parents. So you're only 19 years old. You take the course. You give yourself this time limit. So that's kind of exciting. What happened? What happened within those 2 months?
Yeah, so a lot of learning. This is something very new to me. I went through the course twice. First time I kind of just looked through everything. The second time I actually took action on a lot of the action items you had in there. So one of them was kind of just building my own website. I built that on WordPress, started running like Google Ads for $5 a day just to get used to the platform and how it worked. And yeah, after I finished the course, I started cold calling a bunch of local businesses just to try to do their own Google Ads. I got zero clients, but it pushed me out of my comfort zone to actually start calling people. It was very nerve-wracking, but I got through that. So I eventually started doing that, and then I applied for a volunteer job at a church of doing their ads, and that's how I gained my first experience, was doing volunteer work. Because I know I needed just something on my resume to show that I knew what Google Ads was and how to use it. So I did the volunteer work, got that on my resume, and then I just started blasting out resumes like 20 a day, 30 a day, for like 2 weeks straight. And I eventually landed my first entry-level job for a job in Vancouver. It was fully remote, making like 38,000 a year, just strictly Google Ads for a lot of big companies, corporations.
That's awesome, man. That is the path. That is everything I teach in the course. You know, even just that first, you said that experience, cold calling somebody or reaching out to a business, that alone is incredibly valuable experience. You learn a lot, you get out of your comfort zone, and then eventually you get your first client. And I'm telling you, even what you just did is 1,000 times more valuable than anything any college student is doing, any marketing student is doing. You're actually getting real world hands-on experience, even if you're managing a very small account, and that got you your first job. So how old were you? Were you 19 or 20 when you got that first job?
I was still 19. I turned 19 just as I started the course. It was like 2 days after my birthday. So yeah, still 19 when I got that job.
What was it like to get a fully remote job at, at 19, having dropped out of college?
Yeah, it was very, very interesting because remote jobs were not very common at that time. This is a very new thing. So even my parents were like kind of skeptical of it. They didn't really know what was going on. Even for me as a 19-year-old, I didn't have a lot of discipline. So kind of just keeping focused during remote jobs was a whole ordeal itself. But no, it was cool. At least I had a lot of free time to myself. My hours were kind of weird as 12 to 8 p.m. As was in the West Coast. But overall, I did enjoy it. I felt like I had more freedom over my time, and I just took it as a learning experience. I knew $38,000 a year I wasn't extremely happy with it, but I knew it was a full learning experience. And the amount of learning I did in that job was insane, so it was fully worth it.
Absolutely. And that is, as I tell people again and again, you have to understand the process is the entry level job is not your last job. That is where you begin your career. And, the salary will vary, but it's going to be your stepping stone to the next job. And again, at 19, making 38K a year is amazing. You had no degree. How did your family handle you dropping out of college, by the way?
Yeah, luckily my parents are kind of okay with me. I was always the kid who got really good grades without trying, so they always knew I was kind of just okay. They came from a full trades background, so even like university or online jobs weren't something they really knew about. But they were okay with my vision. I just told them what I was gonna do. I was taking your course, obviously a little bit skeptical because I didn't know what it was, but overall they were pretty supportive, which I'm very thankful for.
That's great to hear, guys. And anybody out there, I always like to ask people that who had supportive parents, because there's a lot of parents that aren't supportive out there who are still very brainwashed by the culture's indoctrination. It's like you have to go to college and stuff. And that's okay too, but it's nice to just when you hear the other parents are cool, you understand this is normal, it's good. It's like okay if you're decided to drop out of college and follow your own path. In fact, it's better than okay. Honestly, you're not building any debt and you're earning even 38,000 a year at 19 is again, it's really amazing. So again, this is years ago. So it's been 5 years since then. What happened, in this first job? Obviously, you got that experience that you used to leverage to your next, whatever you did next. What was the next step? Did you get another job before this agency, or what happened?
Yeah, so I got a lot of experience from that entry level job. That was one of the best decisions ever because I don't know if you know brands like Four Sigmatic or even like Kellogg cereal. I was managing all their Google ads, and there's a point where I was managing like 500,000 a month at 19 years old of ad spend. So it felt very overwhelming and stressful at the time. I was hopping in Zoom calls with executives of big companies, and I was like shaking during the calls. I was super nervous. But that experience fully developed me as a person and made my confidence grow, and also just my experience with Google Ads. Like I felt fully confident managing that much ad spend and getting a good return on it that I could just do anything. So I leveraged that experience. I think it was 8 months after that first job when I was working it, I decided I want to apply for more jobs and make some more money. So I just started blasting out resumes again, landed a second job for 63,000 a year for a company in Toronto named Candy Box Marketing. So I worked there for another year, and at that job, I was basically learning more Facebook ads and Google ads. I wanted to grow my skill set. I didn't want just stick to just Google ads only. I wanted to kind of grow my skills a little bit. So I learned Facebook ads there, Google ads. It was for a lot smaller budgets and companies, but I just wanted that Facebook ads experience. And obviously it was a double my income at the time. So I worked that for another year. During that time period, I saw my friend Carter Vincentini, well, now my friend. He was a kid on TikTok making videos about running an agency in the real estate marketing space. And he was very new at the time, but I thought it was very cool that he had his own agency that young. So I started messaging him while I was working on my second job and eventually landed a part-time job with him. So I was working two jobs at once, my full main time job making 63K a year, and then my part-time job with him, I was making like an extra 15K a year on top of that. And yeah, we started kind of growing a relationship together. Eventually, we worked with each other for like 6 to 7 months, and then we made an offer for me to join full-time, get equity in the business, and try to help him scale the agency up.
That's amazing, man. I mean, you just said so many valuable things. People can take a lot away from this. Again, leveraging that first job, that story is really impressive. I mean, I actually didn't know that when I introduced you. I would have said that you were managing $500,000 a year in ad spend. Would you say $500,000 a year or a month in ad spend?
A month.
A
A month.
month. That's
Yeah.
$5 million a year in ad spend at 19. Uh, it's very impressive, and I like to let people know that's a possibility. You may not manage that much, but I've had many, many students. If you watch all these interviews here of 19, 20, or even in mid 20s, managing money for real companies. I think one of my recent interviews was working for Kia. These companies, you think you have this idea in your head that like, oh, they're going to hire the top of the Harvard class to do this, manage. No, they need someone who shows they have the actual practical hands-on experience. And that's amazing to be talking with executives at 19. I can see it now in how you present yourself too. You come across as a little more mature than 23. You look 23, but you don't sound it, which is, again, you guys, this is my big passion with, skipping college, is that when you're in school, you're just delaying your maturity, you're delaying your growth, you're sitting in a classroom, just like you did when you were 15 and 10 and 5 years old. You're sitting in that classroom, unless you're going to be a doctor or something that requires academics, you're really stunting your growth. Whereas when you get out there, I even think of one of my other students, Kyan, who was, I interviewed him when he was 20, and he sounded like a 30-year-old because he'd been doing sales since he was 13. I watched an interview with Seth Rogen, the actor, and it's funny because he was doing stand-up comedy when he was 13, and by the time he's 20, he sounds a lot older. Your growth, it's up to you. You have freedom over that, and I think it's exciting. You start talking with executives when you're 19, now you're 23. Co-running an agency. So going to your second job, you got a pay raise, which is awesome. You said you're working on a different platform, Facebook. So you're working with smaller accounts, but you were getting, more learning experiences. And then you took the initiative to connect with this other young guy who's running an agency. So this is a exciting thing, to be co-running an agency, taking equity. Tell us more about that. Most of my students do have salaried jobs, but you are actually the boss at an agency. What's that like? And what was it like transitioning into that?
So it was always something, like I said, I wanted to do when I was like 17, 18. I'd see people on Instagram living these crazy lifestyles, and I always wanted to own my own business. So this was kind of the perfect opportunity. When I met him, he was looking for a media buyer, and eventually we kind of just grew as friends, and I saw the vision of the agency he was building. So we eventually came up with a deal. It's definitely very different. Not a lot of people would want to do this. It's very long hours, very strenuous, very stressful. But I just wanted to take the extra push because I just wanted to obviously make a lot of money. So that was kind of the main motivation behind it. But honestly, like I know a lot of people, they work agency jobs like I was. They're working 4 hours a day maximum, and they're earning a very comfortable living. But I kind of want to just take it to the next level. Don't care how much I work. I don't care how much stress I accrue. I just want to make as much money as possible. That's kind of where that came from.
That's awesome, man. And I mean, this is the time to do it. It's, again, what I say, guys, if you're in school, you're 18 to 25 years old, you have more energy than you will ever have in your life. And that's what frustrates me when I see people wasting that energy, stressing out for some history test or something, some topic that it's of totally no use. You're taking all that energy, you're channeling it, And by the time you're 25, 26, you might decide you want to slow down or you might want to go in a different direction. But this is a time to be hustling. And why don't we just dive into this a little bit about, so how are you making more money? What is it like running an agency? Because I did a couple of videos actually illustrating what you just said. I mean, highlighting what you just said, which is that it is hard work. People, say, oh, it's so easy to run an agency, you just outsource everything. But it's not like that, is that you really do have to work very hard.
Yeah, we've been through a lot. When we first started, it was basically just me and my business partner Carter. We would do everything. So he does more on the sales aspect, and I'm more on the service delivery fulfillment side. So obviously, when it first started out, I was trying different strategies. Not a lot of strategies were working in the real estate space. It's very difficult. So a lot of client problems would come up about refunds and all this different things, which is very difficult to go through. But eventually kind of just went through that hard part of figuring everything out, mastering service delivery for our clients. Carter was working on the sales side, doubling that down. And eventually, yeah, we just basically started delegating everything we're doing. So all the calling for leads, we hired people from the Philippines to start doing the calling, which is outsourcing, but they were great. And then we started hiring media buyers from like old college friends I had in the area. We would hire them to kind of delegate the media buying and eventually just kind of snowballed that month over month of delegating and growing to eventually get to this point now because we had like 13 clients when I first started with Carter and now we have 92 active clients.
That's amazing. I just want to zoom in on something for a second. And I don't know if people are brand new to digital marketing, I'll try to walk you through this. But this outsourcing, is this the idea that, of course, let's say you have 94 clients, and this is where people, when they ask me, they say they want to create an agency, they have to just understand the math. It's like you have to have a lot of clients, unless you have like a really high ticket thing and a really, a client that pays you $50,000 a month, which is not that common. You need multiple clients, which means that at some point you have to be the boss and you have to be hiring other media buyers, Google ad specialists, Facebook ad specialists to manage all these accounts. So you're like the head guy who's watching all this. But like how many people do you have, and did you vet these people? Did you find that your knowledge and experience in media buying was essential to make sure that these guys are doing a good job? I'm just asking that because I know some people like what is it, Alex Hermo, not Hermosi, no, he's Godzi is like makes it seem like, oh, anybody can just kind of roll out of bed and just hire freelancers and make an agency. But what's the reality like? Do you know, did your knowledge, was it essential? Do you have to keep an eye on things or what's it like?
Yeah, that's a good question because we're actively hiring a media buyer right now. So we're kind of going through that interview process. And when I look at people applying or even people we're hiring right now, it doesn't matter if they have a degree. I really don't care about that. For one, I've been through that, so I know it doesn't matter. I'm looking for specific skill sets. So if they've been running Google Ads, even by themselves for a small business for a year, I know they're knowledgeable enough where I can teach them our strategies and what we do, as long as they have knowledge of the platform and knowledge of digital marketing in general, I will teach them everything else we know. But as long as they have that foundational knowledge of these platforms, that is all I'm looking for.
Well, that is good to know. And then again, guys, in the course, you're thinking about the course, that is exciting. And maybe we'll talk about that after the interview. But what I was trying to get at was, and I don't mean to spend too much time on this, but just do you find that, say, running the agency and coming up with the strategies, do you think that anybody, if I had no experience in digital marketing and I tried to do what you guys did, would I be successful? Because that's what, again, is pitched by a lot of these agents, guys selling agency courses, that it's just like, wake up, learn the basics, outsource, and you're good.
Right, I see. No, definitely not. Definitely not. If I didn't have the past 2 years of experience working in huge agencies and seeing what the biggest players do in the space, I wouldn't have been able to come in here and master fulfillment and be able to make the agency work. If I just woke up in a bed and try to make it work, we would have terrible results. Our churn rate would be through the roof. So no, I think that foundational experience definitely helped out.
Yeah, and what about in terms of outsourcing? Like, let's say again, you didn't have that agency experience. Do you think you would say, okay, well, you're right, I don't have the experience, but I can just hire someone off of Upwork or whatever? How would that have gone, do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't have trusted that at all. We need someone that's in the team working with us every single day. Like someone outsourced would just not have our inner layer motivation to grow the agency. They'd just be going day-to-day work finishing tasks and that's it, they wouldn't have the growth or the vision that we share.
Got it. Yeah, just to clarify for you guys, another thing, so when we say outsource, it's like, I mean, there are situations where you hire freelancers off of these platforms like Upwork, but then there are situations like I have, friends that run YouTube channels and they maybe start out by hiring someone as a freelancer and then they build a relationship and then they bring that person into the team, into the process. And that requires leadership knowledge and experience like you have. I haven't talked about this in a while, but we just try to help people understand that, starting an agency, running an agency is hard work, it's complex, and you need knowledge. I always say it's like people say, "Oh, I'm going to run a restaurant." And what experience do you have? "Oh, I've eaten at restaurants." No, no, no. You don't know what it's like, And you even said yourself, real estate is still a very good niche because as we talked about, realtors are still very behind the times for the most part. Is that correct? Would you say?
Definitely correct. Definitely correct. Only like 0.1% really understand digital marketing and have that ad space. Other people are just running billboards, flyers, radio stations, all the old stuff.
Yeah, it's very old school and it's mind blowing because I remember I mean, I've been doing this course for 9 years and I remember back in 2017, 18, it was like realtors. I was thinking, okay, all the realtors are going to get online. No, man, they're still doing things like you said, handing out flyers, putting their faces on billboards. But the online space has become more competitive, as you mentioned, and you did have to find your own strategy, your own way into it. But that's exciting too when you have your own niche like this. And when it comes to agencies, it's very good. You'll see some agencies that focus only on dentists, some only focus on chiropractors, other people only focus on realtors. That could be a really good pathway to success. Why don't you tell us a little about the success of the agency? You said recently you guys just did a pretty big month, right?
Yeah, we hit our record month. It was over 200,000. The month before that was our first $100,000 month. So, yeah, it was pretty insane. The biggest thing that changed for us was running our own paid ads. Believe it or not, we were an ad agency, not even running ads for ourselves. It was basically all cold outreach. So once we really dialed in our own ad strategy to get clients, that's when everything just doubled and tripled.
That's awesome, man. How does it feel? How does it feel to achieve the success?
Yeah, honestly, sometimes I have to pinch myself. Like I said, when I originally took your course, when I did drop out of engineering, I was in a very down place mentally. I dealt with a lot of like social anxiety, kind of just feeling lost in life. So now I'm at the point where I feel like all the decisions I made up to this point felt right and I'm at a good place. I just moved into this new apartment here with my business partner and friend Carter. And yeah, it literally feels like a dream come true. I used to dream of this stuff not even 4 or 5 years ago. And I feel very blessed and lucky to be in this position.
That's so great, man. I think you said it. You said it very well, and I think that the fulfillment you're experiencing, being able to move into this new place, and you're gonna have a lot of income you can use to make investments and grow the business, whatever you want to do. It's fantastic. And by the way, guys, yeah, Parker reached out to me randomly like a week ago just to say hello because I hadn't heard from him in 5 years, and that's why we're doing the interview. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you sharing your story with everybody here. Is it okay if people reach out to you on LinkedIn if they have any questions about digital marketing or about my course?
Yeah, 100%. I'm at the point now where I'm even starting my own YouTube channel. I want to help other people that was in the position I was because this space is so life-changing, not just financially, but self-development. Like I said, the confidence I've gained from doing this is insane. And yeah, there's just still so much opportunity in this space. I would love to help out others that were in the position I was in 5 years ago.
Awesome. Well, I'll put your LinkedIn link in the description of the video. Yeah, man. And I think we covered a lot. Again, I appreciate you sharing your story. Is there anything else you want to say to anybody watching the video right now? Just thinking about digital
Yeah,
marketing.
I would definitely say don't let age or the lack of education stop you from pursuing this and feeling like you're not good enough. When I first started when I was 19 and I moved on to that second job when I was 20 years old, everybody else at the job was 25 to 30. There was nobody my age. I was 5 years younger than anybody there, and I had no education. Everyone there had degrees in marketing and master's degrees, and I was the senior ad specialist kind of all over these people had marketing degrees, which felt very crazy at the time. but it just goes to show it doesn't matter what your age is, it doesn't matter what education you have. You can do this as long as you believe in yourself and have conviction in everything you do.
Well said, man. I think you'll do well on YouTube as well. This is it's a great story, and I love your passion, your energy. Um, that's awesome and very well said, guys. That's what I say. Don't let the lack of a degree or experience. And I would say that too, whether you're young or old, because I get a lot of folks now who are whether you're 20, 40, or 60, it's all about the results you produce. And there's a lot of excitement in the learning process and the growth that happens in this industry too. So very well said. Thanks, man. I appreciate the chat. I appreciate you sharing your enthusiasm. And let's stay in touch. And we'll talk again.
100%. If you're ever in Montreal, you gotta let me know. We'll go for dinner sometime. I owe you one.
Oh, you got it, man. Yeah. I don't know if I will be in Montreal, but I'm heading back to the North America this year. But I appreciate the invite, and I definitely want to stay in touch. And yeah, guys, just my pitch again. If you want to know how you can get this kind of experience, this kind of transformation, check out my free webinar, how to get a $60,000 a year career in 1 year with no previous experience or education. This is the same process I've been teaching people for many, many years. It still works. There's still so many opportunities, and yeah, every testimony you've ever seen, like Parker here, is all started out probably watching one of these videos and then going through the process and having this transformation. So awesome, man. It's been great chatting with you, and let's stay in touch.
100%. Thank you, Seth.